After I killed them, I dropped the gun in the Thames, washed the residue off my hands in the bathroom of a Burger King, and walked home to await instructions. Shortly thereafter, the instructions came through. Get the fuck out of London, you dumb fucks. Get to Bruges. I didn't even know where Bruges fucking was. It's in Belgium.
Open the pod bay doors, Cal.
I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm afraid I can't do that.
At the same time, like, it does lead itself to perspective for me. Like, just in life in general, like, it changed my whole dynamic.
Yeah.
I just didn't give a shit about things that I thought were important. You know what I mean? It's just like, that doesn't matter. It's all just bullshit. Nobody knows what they're talking about. So let's talk about film.
Let's talk about In Bruges.
Good segue. But that, I mean, it is a good transition because this movie is about a guy that doesn't give a shit about anything, and then something happens to where he suddenly sees the world differently.
Yeah,
in his world,
the whole perspective's now changed.
Yeah,
it actually is kind of an interesting segue into his character.
I think that was a big connection. You got to have those near-death experiences. You got to have the cliffhangers, and you're in like real life, not just in this movie world, but in real life, because it really puts your life in perspective.
Changes the whole thing.
Changes the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then when you see a movie like this, you're like, I mean.
Well, let's talk. Let's give stats real quick because I always like to give stats, which is like this is a film called In Bruges by first-time feature film director Martin McDognah. Yeah. It was made it was released in 2008, starring Colin
Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, and Ralph Fiennes.
Rafe
Fiennes.
They pronounce it Rafe.
Is it Rafe?
Well, now this is an interesting nerdy side.
I've always read it.
Nerdy guys like me. If I'm completely wrong, then I'm an idiot. But at the same time, it is spelled Ralph, R-A-L-P-H.
I guess I've never heard it pronounced.
It's pronounced Rafe.
Rafe? Okay.
Rafe.
Well, there you go. Right.
That's someone's going to listen to this. Our 3 listeners now. We started out with 1 listener. Now we have 3.
We have 3?
Yeah. I don't know who yet.
Thanks, Mom.
Well, Luke is going to be listening. He's interested. That's fine. Hey, Luke.
I love it. Don't tell my parents.
Hi, Luke. If you're listening, Luke, I'm holding you to it. You better be fucking listening right now. But I believe it's Ray Fiennes. So it stars these 3. Now, as another nerdy side note to this, I was thinking, and I was watching the movie, whatever. I don't want to sound like the pretentious asshole. It's like, it's cinema.
It's fine. We understand.
The funny tie-in is all of those guys, Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, Ralph Fiennes, are tied to the Harry Potter franchise.
Oh, yeah?
Because Ralph Fiennes is Voldemort.
Yes. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
He's Colin Farrell, but he's in Fantastic Beasts.
Oh.
So it's still part of the franchise.
Okay. I was like, I don't remember him.
And then Brendan Gleeson is Professor Moody.
Mad-Eye Moody.
And I'm going to mess it up because I can't pronounce her name, but she's the French actress, the blonde girl in the film that is Ray or Colin Farrell's interest. Yeah. She is also in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah,
because
she's the mother, right?
No, she's in Goblet of Fire, where the
French
girl academy comes in, and they have
whatever
students represent each school. Yeah. She's the blonde girl that gets represented, and her sister almost dies.
And Harry saves her sister.
And Harry saves the sister, but she's the one doing the tournament. Or what's it called?
That's how she looks familiar.
So I was thinking about it, just dumb stuff. And I was like, and I was looking at my wife going, they're all in Harry Potter. So is that all? They just use all the English actors or the European actors for?
I'd say Harry Potter's more popular, but this movie, their performances I like better in this movie.
100%. 100%. Their performances are fantastic. What about them though? Like what? So the other and Colin Farrell gets a Golden Globe.
He did.
He won a Golden Globe for this, and Brendan Gleeson was also nominated for a Golden Globe for comedy or musical.
What an odd pairing this. I mean, I don't know that I would have ever paired those two on screen together, but man, they worked well together.
test.
I mean, just
From the get-go.
first frame. I mean, just like they were on screen together. It was. I mean, you almost like. Yeah, it was really interesting to see their dynamic because you don't know what's going on for a minute. You know, it takes a while to figure out kind of whose everyone's roles are and like
what's really even happening.
Yeah, like you don't know.
We don't know. We don't understand any story structure. Mm-hmm. We don't really know the context of where they're at and why they're there. It's funny from the get-go, though, even not knowing the plot lines or the story.
Yeah.
From the very, very get-go, you know, he's talking about, he gives a little history about what happens, and then it cuts to the two of them, you know, and you hear Ray, who's played by Colin Farrell, go, well, Bruges is a shithole.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it just gets into this thing, and you see this dynamic between these two characters. One guy who's completely not interested in being where they're at, and the other guy who's the older guy who's played by Brendan Gleeson, Ken, and he's like he's into it a little bit. He's like, oh, this is an interesting place I've never been. So their dynamic from the get-go is fantastic. And the way they play it. There's this in that opening scene, there's a look from Brendan Gleeson when they're walking up and it comes up and he's like, they go, Bruges is a shithole. And then he's, Bruges is not a shithole. And then Brendan Gleeson walks over by the little river thing and then like walks by Colin Farrell's character and like looks at him like all excited. Like, okay, we're here. This is fun. And he's like, shithole. But that dynamic's great. It was part of the writing too.
Oh, the writing.
I mean, can we talk about that?
Jeez.
T, you like to write. So tell you
so
give me your
my rating
breakdown.
So my rating is 9.5. It's high. These last few movies have been high. My criteria for this one is with dark comedy. I think you take a step back because you're going into it thinking, okay, I'm just going to laugh. I don't have to take any of this seriously. But if a movie makes me like feel like I'm a different person in a small way after having watched it, then I'm like, that's hard to do. Because most of the time, you know, either I want to be entertained or just be able to think about it. But if you can change the way I think about something, then that's powerful storytelling, and that's hard to do. So I'm going into a dark comedy. I'm thinking I'm just going to have a few laughs and watch it. But you get into it and you realize I can't believe that this writing has the power to make me sympathize for cold-blooded murderers. And that's at the heart. And what's funny is in his writing, I think he's masterful because he uses subtext. People make fun of on the nose. I can't believe how much he's on the nose with his writing, and you love it. Mm-hmm. They say exactly what they're thinking. There's no hiding it. The scene, I think, is one of the best subtext scenes where he's having a date, and she asks him who he is, and he tells him exactly who the hell he is.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a murderer. I kill people for money.
And I kill kids.
Yeah.
And it's this like this confession where he's throwing it out there. He's like suffering. And that's what he's really feeling.
And he literally says, I killed kids.
Kill a boy. It's like, you just said exactly what we've seen, and we know what you're going through, and yet you're able to flip that and make it look like it's this big, like nothing of it. And then she goes into, I'm a crack dealer. What does she say?
Yeah.
Something about the drug dealer.
She says she sells drugs to the Belgium film community.
Crew.
Yeah. But so
and then he goes, do I look like I kill kids?
Yeah.
And then she goes, or no, do I look like I murder people? That's what he says. Mm-hmm. And then she goes, no, just children.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. Because it's the same concept. He's like right on the nose. She calls him out for what she never would assume him to be, which is having killed a child mistakenly.
It's that transparency.
And then the reverse on him when she says that and when they lands on him, the look on his face was intense. Just like the whole, oh my God, you just stabbed my heart, but I'm trying to play it off because I know I just made this. It's like, oh,
and there's little moments of that throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
because there's that at the very, right on the nose stuff, and like little moments where there's no, it's all in the facial expression and the performance of the actor. Like you said, like you see his response, like he's and you can read it. And then there's that part where they're in the hotel room at the very beginning, and he's like, "I got to stay in Bruges for 2 weeks with you," and there's
a single room.
And then Ken's like, "Well, don't make me remind you." And if you've never seen the movie, you're like, that doesn't make sense. But you look at Colin Farrell's face, he's all, "You going to bring that up?" And he goes into the bathroom and he's trying to contain himself.
Yeah.
It's because he's thinking about this horrible thing that he did that he feels completely remorseful for.
No, that was his first job, right? Did I?
Yeah,
that? Okay.
Yeah, that's his as a hitman.
That was his.
There's even a line in there where he's like, "Some hitman I turned out to be."
Yeah, that's right.
There's just so many things to talk about, but
because I kind of went first going through. I've only seen it once, and
Brandon acts like he has things to do.
Oh, jeez,
in life, other than watch In Bruges. I literally watched it like 4 times this week. I fell asleep too. If I was tired, I would just turn it on and listen to it because I fell asleep. And I listened to the soundtrack. Anyway.
Just from, I would think Colin Farrell's character would be the more hardened killer from the get-go. That's kind of where I landed first. And I kind of, like Brendan Gleeson's character was more to me like almost like a friend helping out. It took me a minute to figure out that he was just hard as nail. Career criminal killer. Yeah. I just by the way they were acting, so because he's, as you mentioned before, like he's enjoying the scenery, he's doing all that sort of thing, and Colin Farrell's coming in. Well, this place is a shithole, and blah 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 blah. That's the hardened criminal in most people's minds. And that's part of the brilliance of the writing, was giving that, and direction is giving that kind of stuff to Brendan Gleeson's character when, just to kind of, again, it seems like he tried to he wanted everything to be so ambiguous, and I enjoyed that journey. I enjoyed figuring things out, and
it's very unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. I had no idea where this thing was going.
What's going to happen next? What's he going to... And then your buy-in gets deeper and deeper, which is very hard to do. Especially, I think, with his writing, when you have like 5 pages of straight dialogue, that's a fine line. Mm-hmm. But you're just sucked in. Like when he's talking with him on the phone and walking around the room for 5 minutes about, how is he going to kill him? Is he going to send him bowling? What's he going to do? That's a long scene. Mm-hmm. And it's this guy talking into a phone. And most scenes that you shoot like that, people, 30 seconds, you're gone. But I'm just listening to the whole thing, and I'm just like, I want to hear the whole dialogue. I want to hear this whole conversation. I know he's just going to say the F-bomb, as many times as he can. But that's just like, that's the other thing is, I think a lot of movies, if you say the word fuck, it's shock value. It's like, I can't write anything else. I'm going to throw the F-bomb in there.
Yeah.
And that's cool, right? Because people, you walk into a room, and if I say that, if I swear, then they're going to react emotionally to it. Whereas this film, it's part of really who they are, right? It's everyday dialogue. And you become not desensitized to it. You still recognize it, but like somehow it has less power than the shock value. It's the way they communicate with each other. And by the end of the movie, you realize that it's just, it was really part of who they were, not some scheme to see how many times you could say fuck in a movie.
Yeah, there's a natural ebb and flow to their delivery, their dialogue, even if they're saying cursories. Mm-hmm.
But they're on the nose with that, because the lady writes the note. She's like, yeah, he curses a lot. And by the way, I'm the manager, not the...
I am a co-owner.
How do you get away with saying so much stuff, that just repeating stuff, and we still love it? That was just amazing with the writing.
On a side note of that, I love that Ralph Fiennes. I can't even say his name. What was his character name? I can't remember.
Ray, Kevin, and Harry.
Who I used to call Ralph.
Harry is
Harry.
Ray Fiennes.
Okay, I love the late introduction to him too.
Yeah, you
Like,
just hear his voice.
I mean, it wasn't the back and forth on the phone, cutting to where he was. It was just that one-sided
mystery
conversation.
box. Who is
I
this guy?
loved that. I thought that
Talking
was.
about when he calls his wife. You're talking about that scene. Which scene are you talking
I'm
about?
talking about the first phone call.
Oh, the first phone call. I got you.
Yeah,
Yeah. We never see the other.
we never
side.
see the other side.
They never cut to a shot of him on the
Right.
phone. It's just Ken the whole time.
Just Ken the whole time,
and we hear him through the phone. Okay, I got you.
and just just in that conversation, we could tell how unstable of a person Harry was, because like all of a sudden, like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, he doesn't like it. Well, this is what I've done for him. Like,
And
just
the whole thing that Ken has to do, which like pretend that he sent Ray out, and he goes and opens the door and closes the door, and he's like,
that
okay,
whole
he's
thing.
trying to like play into Harry's.
That was so.
He's
great.
like, even though Ray is not in the room, he's pretending as though Ray is, and then like trying to make sure Harry understands that he told Ray to leave.
Go.
And you're right, you never see Harry, you just
No.
hear him in that portion.
That was great.
Yeah. It's fantastic because
But
those little lines of dialogue, it's interesting to make things feel natural that don't seem initially natural. Because the scene that comes to mind for me is towards the end when, and this is after Ken has already, killed himself.
After Ken.
This is after, and Ray is running down the street away from Harry as Harry's shooting him, and he runs back to the hotel. And that scene when they're in the hotel,
Oh my god!
and the owner of the hotel, this pregnant woman, is kind of in the middle of the two of them, and Harry and Ray are having this conversation.
It was like a civil conversation.
It feels like and it's weird because they're both supposed to be, and we mentioned this before, but if you look at how that scene plays out, you have this kind of innocent figure in the middle, and then these two kind of quote unquote evil people on the sides of it, and they're having this very humanistic, very human nature conversation, and they're talking about the civility of having a shootout away from the pregnant woman so that she's not a victim.
And they like plan it, like, okay, well, I'll run this way, and if you wait, is it the left or the right?
Well, I just fucking got here, didn't I?
But it's like, it's that weird honor that, like, I mean, in order to get away, he could have told him the wrong way, but he told him the correct way.
Yeah, there's an honor code among thieves.
Even between Kevin, right, and Harry.
Ken
and Harry.
Ken and Harry.
They're like, he's like,
Yes,
let's walk
same.
to the top of the tower, and then you can shoot me up there because it'll be quiet.
Yeah. And then they go up there, and then Ken lays out his heart, and he's like, look,
why can't I shoot you now?
and then Harry
I wasn't just going to leave you. Yeah.
He has this moral obligation to be like, well, shit, now I can't kill you.
Yeah.
And so they start walking back down, and then all of a sudden they get news about Ray being there, and then Harry goes, okay, now I get to kill you because I got to get rid of you.
I think that's the hook. It's this world where what if assassins had morals or this moral value system?
Well, like you mentioned, they do, because when you watch it, you sympathize. I'm constantly thinking to myself, I feel bad for Ray the whole time.
He killed a kid.
But if you put that
in a church, cold-blooded,
he kills a priest in a church, and a kid dies. Like, he's not a good person.
Yeah, but you feel like sad for him, right?
But somehow in the whole movie, I'm going, I kind of feel bad. Like, I'm sympathizing for him. I'm feeling bad when he goes to commit suicide on the bench, and he pulls the gun up, and then
crazy scene.
That scene, and there's a lot of subtext there. There's a lot of undercurrent, which is you're addressing a serious topic, which is suicide. And at the same time, the moral code of like, Ken all of a sudden now can't kill him because he's going to commit suicide. So he was going to kill him, and then he saw him ready to attempt to kill himself, and Ken now all of a sudden has this moral obligation to prevent it.
Yeah.
And
take his gun.
And take his gun from him. It's like, wait a minute, what? Because that, if you think about it, if you are truly a hardened criminal, because you're saying that Ken is hardened, and I get what you're saying, but if you truly were, you would just let Ray shoot himself.
Like, oh,
because even Harry says that later. Well, what are you doing?
It's like, wait, this gets even better.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What?
So there's this weird honor among thieves.
Yeah.
And it's played so beautifully. And I don't want to sound like some guy that's like pigeonholing or stereotyping, but it's very Shakespearean in the way that it comes together.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean to say that he, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like the way that everything kind of ends and comes together tragically.
Tragic comedy. I mean, this is a spoiler, but the way he goes out in the end, where he honors his own value system, and he's like, I think I shot a kid. So, and before in the dialogue, he's like, you can't shoot a kid and get away with that. Mm-hmm. And then he accidentally does that, or thinks he does that because he shot the midget, and then he puts the gun in his mouth and shoots himself. So he honors his own code to the very end. I mean, he could have just walked away from this whole thing, but even the worst guy, you have this tier. Yeah. The worst guy even has like morals. You're like, wow, what an honorable guy. He's like,
you somehow now hold value.
Yeah, like how does the writing make you feel for a cold-blooded killer like that? How do you? That's where I think it's so hard to change your opinion of and just twist it like that.
I'm trying to think of another movie that plays into like you being able to sympathize with.
I mean, on a comic level, like Lex Luthor or some of the villains all have that.
Then the environment's different, and the whole context is more surreal. But, it's not. It doesn't feel like reality. But still, it's like that ability to have us sympathize for these really, and you can laugh about it. That's what
characters.
Yeah, bad people. They're not good people in any way. They're murderers. Yet we're kind of rooting. It's a weird thing.
I mean, we got that a little bit with Breaking Bad.
That's true.
To an extent.
There you go.
I mean, we saw the entire journey, which is a little bit different.
That sets the context differently.
Yeah, it does set the. But even at the very, 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 very end, when Walter White is clearly
he gets a little
past the point of no return, you still, because he still wants to leave some money for his family. He's still,
he has the ethical code then to go back to his wife and give her the ticket that has Hank's burial site where he buried his brother-in-law. And then at the end, he's doing everything to really free Jesse. Yeah. So he comes back with some kind of ethics.
True. But
that's similarly here. Like that's ethical code that they eventually, through all the rigmarole and all the things that go on and the murders, it's funny they kind of find themselves coming back to these ethical practices, So, and you see that in here too.
Yeah, we don't necessarily see the entire journey, but we definitely see Colin Farrell's moment of, and man, I mean, just when that father, he's like, what do you say, like the children or the kid or the little boy, and falls dead, and that reveal of that kid with the head, Jesus, but
and then the petty crime, like he was, what were his doubts or something? He had his list of like
not good at
not even
math.
Sins. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was killer.
That's
actually, I rewound that scene.
That's like a double knife.
Not good at maths, and then there were some other things, but that one stood out to me because it's a kid that can't even grammatically
pious kid
put it together, and you're just like, oh, he's so little.
Yeah.
that little thing is like that. See, that's something that you think of and go, man, that just ups the ante of what just happened, because now I don't know.
It reminds you as a kid.
I started caring, like when you see, okay, this is what he's going through now.
Yeah,
okay, it makes sense. Now he can, and then everything else is like, okay, now he can call out fat tourists, and he can punch people in restaurants. Anything he does from there on, you're like, oh, it's okay, he's suffering.
and there's no qualms about it.
There isn't.
There's really not a lot of politically correct dialogue in the sense of like, they're filming midgets.
Well,
and the race talks and the wars, and
the race and the wars, and like all this stuff.
It's so unpolitically correct.
But the way they talk about it, somehow it's not.
No, it still works.
Yeah,
In a
like,
way but which is an interesting topic, and just discussion wise, and like I'm all about just opening it up. Is like, could a movie like that be made to? Could it? This is only 11 years ago, but like, could that be made today?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a different time though.
It is a different time, but well, I mistakenly thought it came out in 2018 for whatever
Yeah,
reason,
you're
because
not
I'm a
paying attention.
dumbass, not paying attention.
Do your homework, so.
We're going back to the teacher-student relationship.
Yeah.
It's like,
But
no, I mean,
but
I think it's a different thing. I don't think because it got a lot of praise. It got a lot of critical praise, and it won a Golden Globe, and it also was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Screenplay, Original Screenplay. It didn't win, but it was nominated. And does that happen today with all the cultural context of, PC nature and things like that? Where people, you can't speak as freely today as you could then, without at least, to some extent, having certain repercussions. So I don't know. Maybe it could. Not that it couldn't is maybe not the question, but like
somehow the British get away with it more than we do.
there might be some truth to that.
There's a little bit of truth to that, I think. It's like sometimes I think American audience, when they hear it from a British or Scottish or Irish, somehow it's more palatable for some reason. Is that just me? I just that feels that, because you feel if you put that same dialogue in the hands of just some white boy hick, you're like, oh, shut the fuck up. But like when an Irish, it's funny. I don't know.
Can you say the word midget
Can I say the word midget?
without having some form of repercussion?
It's not a midget. He literally karate chops him and then makes fun of him because he karate
He
chopped the
calls him
midget.
a short arm.
Yeah.
Short arse.
And later he apologizes to
Yeah.
him, But it's just this world where you can get away with murder. And that's the underlying theme. You can get away with murder as long as you have a level of remorse about it in some sick, twisted way. And then my moral system is totally whacked up. And I'm like, okay, then it's okay. Because
It
he's
works.
Yeah, it works. That's the thing. That's the genius in the writing that shows this.
But if you're writing something, that brings me to a question. If you're writing something, you go, okay, I got two hitmen who have an ethical code. I got midgets. I got Belgium. I got hookers. I got
Canadians.
I have fat American tourists. Like all these characters, like that have a unique.
You have classic Shakespeare because you got this like Midsummer Night's Dream that you don't see into the end. They always talk about this fairyland, this dream world, and then they're on the nose. They're like, we're shooting this dream sequence, right? So you know it's there, and then when you see it, you're like, ooh, wow, that's where he's going out, and they've got the donkey heads and the spirits, and everything. They said that stuff was going to be there anyway. They're shooting it, they're shooting a movie. But that's very Shakespearean also, where they go into this, dream world where did this happen? Did he die? Did he? That's my question. Did he die?
Well, that's you look at the ending, and he has the dialogue, and he's talking about, is this hell? And then it shows him getting taken by the medics. And then what's interesting to me is that camera shot. And I'll tell you why, because it's all the POV, and you see the stuff you were talking about, the fantastical kind of theatrical type, the donkeys and all the weird kind of theatrical stuff. And then it goes back into the ambulance, and he's talking with some voiceover, and he's talking about like, I'd still be in fucking Bruges, and what's better, being in Bruges or dying. And then the whole time the camera's moving because it's on a gurney, and then it stops, and it's still for a second. It's like an Inception moment, like you just That's exactly the idea. Is like, is he alive? Is he not alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's another masterful thing. Again, at the very end, this guy has killed people. He's a cold-blooded murderer.
And
at
you
the
want
very
him
end,
to
I'm
live.
like, oh, I want you to live. Right?
You're like, please, Ray.
How is my moral system just totally been compromised by this one movie? That's what I think was pretty.
You were like,
I was
Ray
sad when
live.
Brandon-
You wanted Ray to live.
Ray live. Yeah, I wanted to live. Because the whole movie's about him getting this chance that he deserves. Because he fucked up. He killed a boy, and he's suffering because he knows that's wrong. And even the worst guy in the movie knows that's wrong, and he kills himself over thinking that he did that.
Yeah.
And so it was like, after all these guys are dead, and his friend throws himself off a tower to save him, so he can have the second chance. He's got to have the second chance. I want that by now. And you're like, well, maybe he gets it. Maybe.
And he almost, and what's
tune
interesting,
in next week. We'll let you know.
he almost gets it again too when Kent puts him on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on the train and he's
yeah.
going out of
That's right.
Bruges. And I've never thought of a movie, where like you're like, oh, he's gonna, and then all of a sudden, and there's some irony to it too if you think about it, because he's on his way out of Bruges, and as he's pulling out on the train, the cop or the police officer, he stops him.
We're taking you back,
and we're taking you back to Bruges, and you're like, what? And the reason why they took him back to Bruges is because of something he had done earlier in the film, which was punch the Canadian. So like it was his fault that he was getting pulled back. He had got away, and he had a chance to go start something new. But he's coming back because of his own doing.
Yeah.
So,
which I didn't see coming at all. I had no.
Well, he beautifully. That's the thing about about what McDonough does so good is every scene matters. There's no throwaway scenes. Sometimes you can go, oh, that's kind of a filler. That's a throwaway. If you think about the setup of this movie with the way that he structures each scene, there's no throwaways. An example of that is when Ken goes, and when they're going to go up to the tower, and he's like, what do I go up the tower for? And he's like, we're going to look around. He's like, I can see everything from down here. And he goes into the tower, and he's like, I'd like to pay with me coins. And he starts putting his coins out, and the guy's like $5, and he's short 10 cents.
So
and he's like, no, I'm not letting you up. So he takes the coins and he puts them back in his coat.
Gives him a 20 or whatever.
But then those coins are used at the end when Ken is on the tower to save Ray, because he wants to warn people that a dude's going to be falling.
Again, this he's a killer too.
But he has the heart to want to warn people.
I don't want to kill.
I don't want to jump on somebody.
Just people that I'm decided to kill.
But my point being, the coins are used like to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas if he pulls them out, or that setup wasn't just about a guy, an employee at the tower being a jackass and a jerk, not letting the guy in for 10 less cents, but like it sets up something, and even as minute as it is, it sets something up later. So I think he's just masterful at tying every scene together and making every scene matter. Every scene matters.
And every decision.
He doesn't.
There's no loopholes.
It's not. It's tight.
It's very tight.
Airtight.
Right. Even after he jumps too, his dialogue. I mean, his last breath. What are you gonna say? And he's still trying to help him. He's like, he's here. Take my gun. And he's like, he wants him to have that second chance, that third chance, fourth chance now. And the gun's broken, but it's just crazy how he's showing how much he wants him to have, which is, I think, the character changes are minimal, but they're huge for us. For them, it's just this constant, like, well, I have morals now, But for us, it's like, wow, this, you turn a serial killer into this, like, we want to help you now.
Yeah.
I want you to live. Yes. I want you to run away free. How do you? I'm still kind of baffled on how they get away with that.
No, I agree. So tell me your favorite. Tell me your favorite scene.
Ooh, favorite scene.
I mean, we always use that terminology, but or a scene that.
I think again the final scene, the final showdown, where after all they've done, the same thing happens again, but this time. So it's a bookend. It's a classic bookend where the beginning of the movie shows the fatal flaw, and at the end it shows the character arc where Colin Farrell, he's a different person. The same thing has happened, and even though whether he lives or dies, he realizes now that he gets to see what the priest saw because he says the exact same thing. It's like the boy, and so somehow that is enough to redeem this character, and then also get the villain the comeuppance. The villain, gets what he deserves because his thing is like, I'm gonna go after you guys. I want you to kill each other because you killed this boy, and then I have to now live up to what my value system is. And he does. And that's so ballsy. It's like that's such a well crafted scene. It says so much. And a guy accidentally killing a midget and mistaking him for a
young boy.
And that's kind of stuff is very Shakespearean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, Hamlet or
Tragedy.
Yeah, tragedy.
That essence is throughout.
Yeah. And Midsummer Night's Dream, what is it? Pyramus and Thisbe, the two the lovers that were, it's like Romeo and Juliet, where they wake up and they mistake that, and it causes death, ultimately death, which is
mistaken tragedy. So like they mistake something and then it becomes tragic.
But that just shows how strong, I think. Kudos to Shakespeare, but those.
Now I say that
things are just new things.
We say that, and I agree with you because I was saying it earlier too, which is the Shakespeare thing. What he does well is modernizes it, so makes it feel contemporary, where that essence is there, but it doesn't feel maybe as I don't want to say slow, but like it has a modernization with. I think it's contemporary comedy. Like there's things that are comedic about it that kind of feel new and modern. And if you look at, and then good Shakespearean stuff is the mixture of the comedy with the tragedy and the drama, and he does that pretty good throughout. So.
The dark comedy, I think it's funny.
Brandon just fell asleep.
Oh, sorry.
Dude, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry.
It's not like you're working 12-hour days.
Girl pair.
I'm trying, guys. I'm sorry.
Get back in it. Don't fall asleep. We're almost done.
But you never see what Bruges looks like, right? There's these little black box theater scenes. They're very tight scenes.
Well, that which we do see is gorgeous. Though.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. But
the little bit of stuff that we see with some of the shots and some of the...
I try to remember if there's a lot of dialogue where they get to the top of the tower fire. He's like, "Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at it." And you're like,
you see him like shooting down at Ray.
See, I thought that might have been something that came on later. I falsely predicted that Gleeson's character was going to take out.
No, you correctly predicted because that was.
No, I thought he was going to shoot. I thought he was going to shoot. I thought that's why he was going back up to the top of the.
Oh.
I thought he was going to shoot him with a gun.
Well,
from
once
up
again,
top
he's not
to
afraid to foreshadow himself. McDonough's like, okay, Ken's on top of the tower, and we have the shot of Ken pretending to shoot Ray.
Yeah.
That's a foreshadow. Like, Ken is going to shoot Ray. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not afraid to be like, this is what's going to happen in like 20 minutes. And then, of course, it doesn't completely turn out that way, but Ken is going to shoot Ray.
Yeah.
Like, and he's telling you visually, like, yeah, this is going to go down. He's not afraid to like lay it out, but it's done so advertent that it's like you don't know, and then you don't tell later. You're like, oh, what's your favorite? What's a scene that stood out for you? Brandon's still trying to wake up.
I'm awake. I just dozed for a second.
This is caffeine.
I don't know. No, that stuff messing with me. I mean, the one scene I rewound and watched a couple of times because I was kind of trying to figure out what happened was him shooting the priest. I was trying to figure out why he shot the priest in the first place, but then
you hadn't figured out that they were hitmen at that point.
At that point, yeah, and so I was like, wait, what? And so I rewound it and watched it again, and then
because he says his name. He's like, Harry Waters says hello.
Yeah.
Which is very like Godfather-esque, by the way. There's like a very Godfather
Mhm.
homage to it in a sense. But to me, it felt that way.
And then it took me a minute because of the angle was so weird. It took me a minute to figure out that it was Brendan Gleeson that swoops in and
Pulls
him away. But I kind of have to say, I think my favorite. There's two part. I loved when they were in the tower having that conversation. Just that very top. Just that whole conversation was just so interesting because it didn't go anywhere I thought it was going to go, as far as just like, just again the on the nose, just like, I mean, yes, I'm going to kill you. Well, I know. I mean, it was just so like.
Because sometimes when you're doing something, it's like you're trying to be sneaky about it.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, I want to be like creative and sneaky, and I want to try to be intelligent about how I put this together. And he's not. He just speaks plainly.
No, he speaks plainly, and
the way the dialogue portrays.
And it's like almost like two civil engineers talking about the same bridge they were about to build or something like that. Just because they both know their job so well, there was no point in trying to fool the other one.
I might kill you.
Yeah, it's like
no, I'm
I'm just like,
take you up there.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna shoot you.
Well, yeah, we're professionals. Let's do this. What are we doing? You know, let's. It was such a different twist. I think I just like that whole part of it, and just really just that aspect of it. And then again, when the pregnant lady was in there, and that dialogue, and then just civilly working out. It's like, well, yeah, clearly we can't. She's not the target. What are we doing? And her kind of being
authoritative. That line in there where Harry goes, and she's like, "Well, just get out of here. Like, this is my hotel." And Harry's like, "Well, we can't do that. This is a shootout."
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I just loved it. Like,
comedic.
It didn't occur to Colin Farrell to be like, "Well, yeah, turn right. That'll work." I've only just got here.
I've only just got here, haven't I?
They've killed
civil discourse.
They've killed so many people. It's like another day at the office.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what it is. It's like,
they don't even care anymore about being, like if I get caught or fingerprints on the gun.
No,
all the assassin stereotypes and norms are thrown out the door, and these guys are just walk up to whoever they want. If a guy gets in your face and says, "You can't go up the tower, I'm just going to kill you in front of everybody and do what I want." And somehow that's dark and funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many good scenes in it. Like, you can't really identify just a single. Like, we did a few there, and those are good scenes. And I have a couple that just, for me, stand out. And they're really actually just simple, and I think they're more based in the performance of the actors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when Ken forces Ken forces Ray to be on the boat at the beginning of the film, and they're going through, and you hear Ray go, he's sitting there like he's hunched over almost like a child, and he's like he's kind of in a temper tantrum almost, and he's like, "Do you think this is good?" And then Ken goes, "Do I think what's good?" And he goes, "Looking at all this stuff." "Yes, I do. It's called sightseeing." and then it cuts back to Ray, and you just see him humped over, like pouting.
He's like pouting. Yes, yeah. Exactly. That's a perfect word. He's pouting.
Like, that little dynamic just sets it up. Makes me laugh every time.
I mean, I really want to go back and watch it again, knowing what I know. It does beg a rewatching.
Oh,
insane
absolutely.
Amount of time, and that's always a compliment to a director.
No, it's definitely a rewatchable.
Yeah,
many times. I mean, you can watch it over and just kind of pull different things from it each time. The last line that I think is funny when Ken asks Ray, they're going up to see the tower, and Ken asks him, like, you don't think any of this is good? And he's like, I don't like any of this stuff. He's like, I grew up in Dublin. I love Dublin. He's like, if I grew up on a farm and I was retarded, Bruges might excite me. And you're just like it's just like little comedic moments like that helps. Like if you watch it because it's talking about the dark content. You think about the topics. You got suicide, homicide, killing of children. So like these little,
he slaps a girl or punches a girl.
He slaps in these little things of like dialogue that but these little moments that just go, I can laugh, and I think that's the key to kind of make it not feel so down, because it's not, you don't feel down. You're talking about suicide, homicide, kids dying, and you don't feel like that because you're kind of keeping these sparks of comedy going with these lines of dialogue that are funny, So I think that to me is the essence of it all.
Well, and the pacing and the placement of those moments were perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like this enjoyable ride where, you kind of, but then it brings you back up, and it's like a roller coaster in a way. It's just like it's
intention.
Yeah.
He has intention. I'm putting him here for those reasons. I feel like he's intentionally putting things in. So T already kind of gave out his rating. Throw it out again, though, T.
9.5.
Based on?
I'm a different person after watching it.
Okay. That's good. Brandon? Because I remember T went 9.5 on mid-90s last week.
That was also same reason.
Yeah, same concept. Yeah.
I mean, movies make you think, but if you're a different person, I'll pay to do that because I need a lot.
T needs.
I think I'll do a 9.65 on this one. I have no idea what I gave mid-90s.
Something like in the 9.2 there.
Yeah.
You just like to add in the third digit.
Yeah.
Just to be terrible.
Round up.
Round up, damn it.
I'm not giving it a 10, but I'm giving it what it did for me, what it kind of opened up the possibilities of where dialogue can go and storytelling in general. Just like it kind of gave a breath of, it was just so original the way that, I mean, again, those Shakespearean themes were there, all of that was there, but he put them together in a way that had never been packaged quite like that before that I've seen. And so for me, that kind of opened up that world and I started thinking like, God, what could you do in that way? Like, anyway, that's kind of.
So I think Martin McDonough is a genius, and I don't throw that word around lightly. I really, really do. I think he's a phenomenal writer. Watch the other movies that he's made, and he's been pretty limited because he's done a lot of plays and stuff. I think he's phenomenally talented. I think he's an exceptional director. If that's your first film, the directorial choices and how it was put together are fantastic, like amazing. I'll give this movie a 10 out of 10 because it's that good, and I got no shame in trying to lowball it to something else because that's the kind of movie that it is. And it deserves to be. So you should watch it. 10 out of 10. I'm going straight up. 10 out of 10 in Bruges. Go watch it.
We need a bell or something.
Ding! Yeah, we need like a buzzer. If we go
Gabe
10,
buzzer.
if we go the golden
Falls.
buzzer, the golden buzzer, I'll post it. I'll post it in the golden.
First 10.
A hockey horn.
Open the pod bay doors, Cal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.